on the air with the absolute anger in Uvalde, Texas, with what we expect to be an emotional and intense meeting just a matter of minutes from now. To that report showing systemic failures. That's what they're calling it. Systemic failures in the response to that mass shooting that killed 19 kids and 2 teachers at Robb Elementary School in May. The new reaction we're just hearing now from the governor, from the school district, and from furious families. And gun violence, doesn't stop at mass shootings. In tonight's backstory, we're going behind the scenes on our NBC News close-up look at America's cities and what a single night in this country really looks like. Here in Washington, too, you've got jury selection that may wrap up tonight in Steve Bannon's trial. We're taking you inside the courtroom with details on why the former Trump advisor even wants a trial to begin with. And as gas prices start to drop, the White House seems to be taking what may be the beginning of a victory lap, suggesting we could all be back under $4 a gallon sometime in the next few weeks. But with President Biden's agenda stalling, why his top advisors are saying today they've got other options if Congress can't get anything done. And it seems like Prince Harry is throwing some not-so-subtle shade at the Supreme Court today for, in his words, rolling back constitutional rights in the U.S. We've got more on his big speech this afternoon at the UN and the bombshell book at the Royals set to come out later this week, later in the show. Hey, I'm Hallie, and tonight we're starting with Uvalde, which is getting ready for what is almost certainly going to be an incredibly intense school board meeting tonight, as everybody there and across the country is trying to process this scathing report from the Texas House, laying out all of the many things that went wrong back in May at Robb Elementary. You had the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, reacting to this not too long ago, saying the report proves they've got to make some key changes. And he's going to work on that for school safety, for mental health. But 2 things he doesn't mention, gun safety or specifics on what he's willing to do. So let's take a look at those findings. And here's the thing. We're going to take it in a couple of buckets, right? First, you've got the big quote, the big headline quote from this report. It's on your screen, however you're watching. Systemic failures and egregiously poor decision making. That's what they're saying, because we now know 376 officers showed up that day. That's more people than were defending the Alamo, folks. There's other failures, too, like a classroom door with a lock that didn't work that nobody thought to fix, unlocked doors to the outside, Wi-Fi that wasn't working that may have prevented lockdown alerts from getting to teachers. Uvalde's school district, just in the last couple of minutes, responding, promising to hire school police, beef up security at schools, upgrade all the doors and the locks before kids are back this fall. Second, there's this other bucket, this new body cam footage we're seeing now for the first time. It's video that shows us, how bad it was, the panic in the hallways, the horror in the hallways. It's disturbing, right? What you're going to hear is emotional. It's hard to watch, but we're showing it to you because it's important to see it, to learn from it, right? So that the failures that happened here don't happen again at any other school in this country.
My wife's classroom. Dude, we got to get in there. DPS is sitting there. We got to get in there and just keep shooting. We got to get in there.
That officer's wife, Eva Morales, she died in that classroom. And here's the thing. The police didn't just get in there. Right? Did you see the timestamp on that video? It's 11:38. That's more than an hour before anybody went in. And this report accuses the officers of failing to, in their words, prioritize the saving of innocent lives over their own safety. The police aren't saying much, at least not tonight. You've got the city mayor putting Uvalde's acting chief on leave. That happened. The Border Patrol, the city, the school police are not responding to our requests for comment from NBC News. And nothing from Uvalde School Police Chief Pete Arredondo. He's the one who's been on leave and still insists he was not the incident commander that day. And that brings us to our last kind of bucket on all of this, right? A community that is, I think we can fairly and objectively say this, they are pissed off. Here's what the great-grandfather of one of the victims told our Priscilla Thompson about Chief Arredondo.
If you were to see Chief Arredondo right now, what would you say to him?
Tell him he should go, give up the badge, the gun, grab a goddamn mop, go to the school and be a janitor. That way he can go and hide in the closet instead of having to go and defend the kids.
Sam Brock is in Uvalde for us tonight. And Sam, we're talking about what we're hearing from people in the community. We're looking ahead of that school board meeting tonight, and you're hearing from a teacher who was in the classroom with the shooter and actually survived this horrific attack. Tell us about it.
It's horrific. Look, you're talking about, Hallie, a generationally awful school shooting paired with a generationally incompetent law enforcement response. Those two things together, I mean, this might be a new chapter of American history that everybody right now is trying to digest. That includes Arnulfo Reyes. He's a fourth grade teacher. He was one of those classrooms that was adjoined next to Eva Morales and Irma Garcia. They both died. 8 students in that classroom died. In his classroom, there were 11. They all died. It would have been 19, but 8 of them actually left that day. There was a school award ceremony earlier in the day. They decided to go back with their families. Instead, Mr. Reyes showed the Adams family was supposed to be a nice day. And then all hell broke loose. And he said, as he was shot twice, Hallie, once in his arm, once in his back, he was on the ground waiting and waiting and waiting. Nearly 400 law enforcement officers on scene there, 400 against 1, and no one was breaking through that classroom door. Here's what he said that could have meant had they acted sooner.
My kids didn't have bulletproof vests. I didn't have bulletproof vests. One of my students just had a gunshot like to the stomach, and that if he would have been taken care of earlier, he would have made it. Because it was just a little gunshot.
Hallie, one breakdown for you. 376 law enforcement officers total, 149 of them U.S. Border Patrol, 91 state police, 5 Uvalde school police officers who were on scene there. You can understand why there is a diffusion of responsibility in this situation.
Let's talk about what we expect to see tonight, because the members of the public are actually going to get to sort of express how they're feeling before we even get to the meeting part of the school board meeting. Do you anticipate that this is going to be kind of a high-stakes venting session, Sam, for lack of a better word for it, or do you expect concrete action, something that we can touch coming out of this?
No, I definitely don't expect concrete action. I think if past is prologue, what you're going to see are parents coming out here lining probably over my shoulder. This is the auditorium for Uvalde High School, just over here. You're probably going to see them lining up and venting for an hour because they're being given a forum. Typically, Hallie, there's about a 15-minute space within the confines of a normal school board meeting where they talk about textbooks and budgets and tax collection, where they'll have some comment. And traditionally, it's been about 15 minutes. No one will even respond. But tonight, an hour of public speaking, we'll see whether or not school board members hear what people are saying and actually respond to that, especially when there's been calls for the superintendent and principal potentially to be put on administrative leave or to lose their jobs in light of what's happened. Hallie.
Sam Brock, I'm so glad you're there for us on the ground in Uvalde. Thank you. We'll look for more of your reporting on Nightly News, and I'm sure tomorrow on Today. To Indiana now with new details we're getting from another mass shooting. This one at a mall just outside Indianapolis. Officials are really giving a ton of praise to somebody they call a good Samaritan. 22-year-old Elisha Dickin, a good Samaritan who shot and killed the suspect, basically stopped this shooter in their tracks. They say he saved who knows how many lives.
Our city, our community, and our state is grateful for his heroism in this situation.
3 people were killed in this attack, and we're just tonight learning their names. Pedro Pineda and Rosa Miriam Rivera de Pineda, a husband and wife, and Victor Gomez. 2 other people were hurt when the shooter opened fire with a long gun at the food court of the mall. No idea yet what the motive was here. Shaq Brewster is following this story for us. And Shaq, talk to us about this suspect here, because they're also, one of the things that they're saying is that this person had a juvenile record, even though there's no indications they say that they were a violent person.
Exactly, Hallie. He's 20 years old, and he had that minor juvenile record, minor offenses as it was described. One connected to a possible fight that he had in school, another that was connected to a runaway situation. But this is something that according to authorities, surprised his family. I want you to see some of the things that we learned from authorities earlier today when we had that press conference. They say that one thing that they learned is that, according to his family, he recently lost a position from a warehouse position that he had. He lost that job in May. You see that he purchased those 2 AR-style weapons and rifles, I should say, and 1 handgun. He purchased those within the past year and a half. He practiced and bought ammo at a local range in the past 2 years. And then we got a sense of the actual timeline of what happened, of how this suspected shooter walked to the mall, how when he arrived at the mall at 4:52 yesterday, that he went immediately to the restroom in the food court, stayed in that restroom for an hour and 2 minutes, and then left the restroom, and that is when he opened fire before he was stopped by that Good Samaritan. So a lot of new details that we just learned from investigators, all that coming in just the past couple of hours, Hallie.
Let's talk about this, what I think some people, especially here in Washington, might call this good guy with a gun, right, who police are calling a good Samaritan, who managed to stop this shooter before things got even worse here. Right now, and I totally get this, police are saying this guy needs some space, right?
Right, that's exactly right. And you're hearing a lot of praise for this 22-year-old, someone who, this is a situation, and police say that they were able to go through and look at the surveillance video. They saw exactly what happened. They said it's likely not going to be released because it was so graphic, but they got to see exactly how this 22-year-old, his name is Elijah Dickinson, how he was able to take down this shooter, how he went in and how from a long distance he fired about 10 shots in the shooter's direction. And that is what ultimately stopped the shooting. They said he didn't have a military background, that he was not connected to law enforcement. They say he did not have a permit, but he had the right to carry in the state of Indiana because of constitutional carry. So you're having a lot of praise going on and being handed over and being given to this 22-year-old man. He is someone who authorities say is still processing the situation. He does not want to speak at this point, but you're getting a lot of praise, including from former Vice President Mike Pence, who was the governor of Indiana. You're hearing a lot of praise for this 22-year-old who stepped up and ended the bloodshed yesterday.
Shaq Brewster live for us on that. Shaq, thank you. To the state of the economy right now, and hey, maybe a little good news tonight. Right? We talked for how long about how gas prices were going up and up and up and hit $5 a gallon and everything else. Well, did you notice they're coming down a little bit too? Now they are, right? And just this afternoon, the White House pointed to that, said they hope that's going to keep up, that we could see maybe gas back below $4 a gallon in more places over the next few weeks. Here's economic advisor Jared Bernstein just in the last couple hours.
We think it's reasonable to expect more gas stations to lower their prices in response to lower input costs, and thus, barring unforeseen market disruptions, to see average prices fall below $4 per gallon in more places in coming weeks.
Okay, in plain English, what he is saying is basically that, yes, if things continue to go well, you could see cheaper gas soon. It comes as a poll just out from CNN shows a big majority of Americans, the number on your screen, 82% of people say they think the economy is not awesome right now. Let me bring in NBC's Mike Memoli, who's outside the White House. Okay, Mike, so hey, White House making this a big talking point. The outgoing communications director just blitzed reporters with, a memo on this, basically, about how gas prices are going down. Reality check, they are. The White House is not wrong on that. On the other hand, you have to think, is some of this aimed at that poll number we just showed, too, trying to combat this sort of fatigue that I think a lot of people, based on polling, are feeling with the state of the economy right now?
Hallie, we're now just about 112 days until the midterm elections. Not that anyone's counting, but you can be sure that any glimmer of good news that this White House is going to tout, they're going to do it with a megaphone. And it's interesting because you remember not long ago there was a White House official saying there were a lot of questions about the White House messaging problems. This official saying we don't have a messaging problem, we have a $5 a gallon gas problem. And so now whether it's Kate Bedingfield, the White House communications director, with this new memo, or Jared Bernstein at the White House podium today, pointing to the fact that 20,000 gas stations across the country, dozens of states are reporting sub $4 a gallon gas. This is something they really want to make sure they're at least seen as on the right side of. And listen, Hallie, we need some reality checks here because the White House is saying this isn't a victory lap that we're seeing from them. But they do say, listen, the White House, the president has authorized the largest ever release from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. He's worked with our allies. He's worked with OPEC. We, of course, just had that trip to Saudi Arabia, very controversial, but they're expecting more good news on the production front from OPEC in the weeks ahead. The president is responsible, they think, for a gas price decline where Putin was responsible, as we know, famously for the gas price hike. But more reality checks here. There's just as many analysts, economists saying that it's the fact that we're starting to see demand drop that's leading to this gas price decline. A lot of Americans just can't afford to fill up their tanks the way they used to. They're being more judicious about it. There's also this concern that a recession is looming, and so futures analysts, betting on the markets, are betting that as the economy turns downward, people are going to, again, affect the demand for gas. So the White House is taking a real risk here, it must be said, Hallie, taking credit for gas prices going down quickly when any kind of weather disruption, any kind of other major geopolitical event could drive them right back up again quickly. But also that some of the trends that are leading to it declining are also not ones they want to talk about, especially as it relates to the R word, a possible recession.
Mike Memoli live outside the White House with that. Mike, thank you. Good to see you, Mem. Right now, you may notice it's a little dark and cloudy where Mem is. There's partly because there's a big storm watch in East Coast cities, like here in D.C., also in New York. It's coming as we saw record-breaking temperatures all around the country and all the way across the ocean to London. Here in this country, more than 140 million of us will be in places with highs above 90 this week. Dallas was already up over 100 today, and the heat's expected to move east this week. In Arizona, where 108 was the forecast for Phoenix, look at this video captured on a Ring camera. A UPS driver actually collapsing while trying to drop off a package. It's coming as over across, I hate the phrase across the pond, but let's say across the pond. The UK could have its hottest day ever this week. A runway at their biggest airbase even melted today, straight up melted because it's so hot. Some perspective here. Keep in mind, London is farther north than anywhere in the U.S. It's around the same latitude as Calgary in Alberta, Canada, right? It doesn't get this hot in London usually. That's why this is so extraordinary. Megan Fitzgerald and Al Roker are both with me now. And Megan, let me start with you, because when we think of UK weather, record high heat and melting runways is not like the first thing that comes to mind, right? Tell us what the situation's like.
Yeah, Hallie, it's mind-blowing. The people of this country are not prepared for this type of weather. Keep in mind, the majority of people here live without air conditioning, but they are bracing for 105-degree weather tomorrow. This is being called a crisis situation. A state of emergency has been declared here. Top government officials met over the weekend for an emergency meeting to try and plan for what could be a deadly heat wave. And what I want to share, which I found was really interesting, is that this meteorologist from the state agency, the weather agency here, 2 years ago, he did this forecast where he was predicting what things would look like in 2050 because of climate change. 2050, his prediction was that temperatures would be 40 degrees Celsius, which is 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Fast forward to now, and that's going to come true likely tomorrow, nearly 3 decades ahead of schedule. Hallie.
It's not just the heat. First of all, it's fascinating. Second of all, it's not just the heat, right? There's also this wildfire risk in Europe. You had 14,000 people who had to evacuate in France alone. Talk about the containment push here. Talk about the risk from that.
Yeah, absolutely. So firefighters are working around the clock in France, in Portugal, and Spain, trying to contain these fires that just continue to rage. In France, already more than 30,000 acres have burned in the southeast portion of the country there in the Bordeaux region. The state federal firefighter, the head of that organization, said, look, this is climate change, and it's the firefighters that are now on the front lines of tackling that issue, the effects of climate change. Over in Spain, and Portugal, we're seeing dozens of fires just rage. Meanwhile, temperatures there are just exploding. 116 degrees was seen in Portugal, 114 in Spain. Today, we're getting new numbers saying that more than 500 people in Spain have already died because of this heat. This weather just gripping much of the southern portion of this country, affecting millions of people, Hallie.
Megan Fitzgerald, live for us there in London. Megan, thank you. I want to bring in Al Roker. It's the thunderstorms, right? Not just the heat. You got these storms that are popping up today, right?
That's right. And by the way, where Megan is right now, Hallie, tomorrow they could be looking at fire dangers as well because of the drought, because of the heat, and because winds will be picking up. They may be in a fire situation as well. Closer to home, you did mention we have these severe thunderstorms. In fact, a severe thunderstorm watch tonight from New England all the way down into Virginia. Strong storms are pushing through at this hour from D.C. all the way to New York. In fact, we've got ground stops at Washington Reagan. We've also got them at Newark and also parts of LaGuardia and JFK. 19 million people at risk right now from New England all the way down to Roanoke, Virginia. Can't rule out a tornado as this system pushes through. We're going to be watching that very closely. Now to the heat, the big story stretching from the Dakotas all the way down to Texas in the lower Mississippi River Valley. 38 million people are being impacted by heat advisories, heat watches, heat warnings, Hallie. And in fact, for tomorrow, we look at these temperatures, and these are actual air temperatures. 102 in Albuquerque, 109 in San Angelo. Interesting thing, because it's so dry there, the heat index is actually lower than the air temperature. But Phoenix will be 109. It's going to feel like 108 in Wichita, 110 in Little Rock. Baton Rouge will feel like 107, 99 in Birmingham. Birmingham. And as we move toward the latter part of the week, here in New York City, temperatures are going to be in the mid-90s. Same in D.C., Charlotte, Cincinnati, you're going to be flirting with 90 right on into Friday. St. Louis flirting with 100 degrees, Hallie, by the time we get to Friday, and upper 90s into Nashville. And next week, no real relief in sight. Warmer than average in the Pacific Northwest. Warmer than average from Omaha, Houston, New Orleans, Nashville, Atlanta, and as you can see, fairly warm elsewhere. So that's the deal, Hallie, and I know there is a climate connection here.
Tell me more about that. You always know the question. You always are so good at anticipating the next question, Al, and I know that there is this sort of thinking that perhaps, you know, climate change has loaded the dice in a way as it relates to some of these extreme weather conditions.
That's right. So here's the deal. As we look right now, summers are getting hotter. So since 1970, Portland's average summer temperature up 2.5 degrees, 10.6 degrees higher in Reno. Denver, a little warmer, almost 2.5. Same in Albuquerque, a little cooler in the plains. But as we move to the east, you're going to see that temperatures are warming up. 94% of U.S. cities, Hallie, are recording warmer summer temperatures since 1970. For example, Atlanta, the average summer temperature, 3 degrees above average. Norfolk, 2.7. Miami, 2.3. And because of climate change, the possibility of heat waves, 90-plus days, those number of days, those 90-plus days, are increasing as well, Hallie.
Al Roker, listen, we feel it, right? I think we can feel it and we can see it and we can tell with our own bodies. Thank you very much, Al. Good to see you as always. We'll look for you tomorrow on Today.
Thanks.
Let's bring it back here to Washington because, folks, Steve Bannon's criminal contempt of Congress trial is happening as we speak, even after he tried to delay this trial twice. And it's possible that by the time you finish watching this show, the jury could be seated. Remember, Bannon changed his tune earlier this month. He told the January 6th Select Committee that he's now willing to testify after he got a letter from former President Trump saying that the former president would waive the executive privilege claim. Bannon was indicted last year after refusing to talk to the January 6th committee. He would not testify in front of them. He wouldn't turn over requested documents. He pleaded not guilty to both counts. If he's convicted, he faces up to a year in prison for each count. It's all coming as, by the way, the January 6th committee is expecting to get their hands on some pretty highly anticipated Secret Service text messages that were apparently deleted from January 5th and 6th, that time frame. Let me bring in Ken Delaney to talk us through this. And Ken, I know you have scrambled back to the Bureau because of this thunderstorm watch we were just talking with Al Roker about here in Washington. Yep. You've been outside the courthouse all day today, though. Bring us up to speed. The jury selection is happening. Remember that Bannon and his attorney's whole argument here was that they felt like they could not get a fair and impartial jury because this is happening in Washington, the city where obviously the Capitol is and where the insurrection went down.
Right, Hallie. So after a slow start, jury selection did pick up in the afternoon today, and both sides were sort of on a path to agreeing on a pool of 22 impartial jurors, which will later be whittled down to 12 jurors with 2 alternates. And what jumped out from today's questioning, Hallie, is that a good number of people seem to be paying close attention to the January 6th story. And keep in mind, this is not our NBC News audience we're talking about here. This is a cross-section of D.C. residents, some large portion of which do not watch or read much news. But a number of prospective jurors were paying attention and had very strong negative opinions about Bannon. One person said that he thought the case against Bannon was cut and dried. Another said he wouldn't believe much of what comes out of Bannon's mouth. So those people were struck. But in the end, they did get what the judge considers an impartial jury. And now we'll have to see what defenses Bannon comes up with, given that, as you said, most of what he wanted to argue was blocked by the Trump-appointed judge hearing the case, Hallie.
And so his lawyers, right, said to the judge something to the effect of, and I'm paraphrasing, like, why go to trial when there are no defenses? You've got Bannon, who defied the subpoena, did not give the committee the documents they wanted. What is the sort of strategy here for his attorneys as this trial proceeds?
Unclear, Hallie. I mean, you're exactly right. The judge ruled that Bannon could not argue that he defied the subpoena on the advice of his lawyers, which he wanted to argue, or because he believes he's covered by executive privilege, or even that the January 6th committee was improperly formed. So about all he's allowed to argue is that he misunderstood the deadline for complying with the subpoena, which seems kind of thin. So really, you got a trial where there's no factual dispute here. Everyone agrees Bannon defied a congressional subpoena, and Bannon has no real legal defense either. And, you know, a conviction on these charges is punishable by a minimum of 30 days in jail. And Pete Williams and I were looking into this. It's possible that that could mean the D.C. jail, Hallie, which is a very unpleasant place.
Let me ask you on that note, let me switch gears and ask you about a different bucket of this as it relates to January 6th. And that is the select committee that wants these text messages from the United States Secret Service, text messages from around the time of January 6th that were apparently wiped when the Secret Service did like a phone migration kind of thing. There's this subpoena for those text messages from the Secret Service. The deadline, quote unquote, for now is tomorrow night. That could change. Is the Secret Service going to put up a fight here, or do you think there's a pretty good chance the committee is going to actually get their hands on those texts?
I suspect if it's physically possible for the Secret Service to provide these texts, they will do so, Hallie. But from what agents and officials have told NBC News, it's very likely there isn't much of value here on these texts because there's an agency-wide policy against texting, and Secret Service agents say they just don't text very often on their government devices. So this may be much ado about very little, Hallie, but we'll have to see.
Ken Delaney, and thank you for staying on top of it for us. Appreciate it. Coming up here on the show, New York's governor says more monkeypox vaccine is on the way as the state, and especially as New York City, tries to scramble now to contain this outbreak. We'll tell you about a town hall that just wrapped up. Plus, lifeguards had to make hundreds of rescues in Hawaii this week. With high surf so bad, waves crashed over condos, nearly took out an entire wedding almost. We got that later in the local. The New York governor today promising help is on the way with thousands of monkeypox vaccines expected to be delivered in the next week. Keep in mind that New York City alone, just the city itself, accounts for about a third of all of the confirmed monkeypox cases in this country, according to the CDC. And there's a perfect storm brewing there, right? Low vaccine supply, slow testing, some technological glitches that apparently helped the outbreak spread. Some patients are feeling frustrated at what they call disorganization now, waiting hours to get tested, their results sometimes never coming, and officials scrambling to get as many first shots into arms as possible. Joining me now is Antonia Hilton, who is live outside of Mass Vax Center in New York. And Antonia, there was a town hall held by one of the LGBTQ plus leaders of New York right before we came on the air tonight. And there was this conversation raised about, you know, is this conversation about stigmatizing the disease to the particular community, you know, how health officials are trying to walk this line, basically. Tell us more about that.
It's a fine line, Hallie, but it's a very important one because going back to the beginning of HIV and AIDS, this is a community that has long been stigmatized, unfairly villainized for the spread of disease. And look, the reality is that this outbreak has started with the LGBTQ community here in New York. But what that means is officials have to sort of straddle this line between messaging to that community, getting them the resources and the support that they need so they can slow the spread, but also making sure that they don't misinform the rest of the public into thinking that A, that's this community's fault, B, that monkeypox is a disease that only queer or gay people can contract, because that's absolutely not true. You can get monkeypox through many forms of close contact. It's not an STD. Certainly sexual activity is a way that someone can contract it, but there are many other ways in which this is a risk to us all. And so while officials have to make sure that they are getting shots into the arms of first this most vulnerable community, they also need to make sure that they're talking to everyone else. This is inclusive, that the responsibility is on all of us, Hallie.
You've been talking with people, Antonia, as they've been getting ready to be in line to go get their vaccination at this site there in New York. What are you hearing, especially with, I know, some criticism, as we've talked about, that the response has been kind of disorganized?
Yeah, there is a lot of frustration on the ground here. And keep in mind, that's coming from people who are lucky, who are relieved in many cases that they finally got an appointment. People have been scrapping hard to get these slots. One man described to me having to email a friend who had connections in the health department in order to get this vaccine. Others tried repeatedly. I spent some time with one gentleman who went to Queens first to go to their clinic. He got turned away, couldn't get a spot, then came back here to his neighborhood in Chelsea, couldn't get a shot, so now he has to wait for appointments to open up again, and he's going to have to try. But appointments have been disappearing just in a matter of minutes. On Friday, they all disappeared within just 7 minutes. Take a listen to a conversation that I had with folks here.
I was really hoping, given that we've been learning how to roll out vaccines for, almost 2 full years now because of COVID, we would have had like a better system worked out.
Releasing a couple thousand slots at a time and the website crashing as soon as you try to make an appointment, it was nuts.
The concern, of course, right now is that monkeypox has been able to get its foothold now in New York well ahead of the testing and the vaccination infrastructure. And so while officials are just trying to get first shots into arms and they're focused on this one community, there's concern now that it's spreading elsewhere. Multiple people have friends who say that they have monkeypox confirmed, others who say they have friends who have all the symptoms but just haven't been able to see doctors yet. So it's very likely that when we look at those numbers that you had on screen a moment ago, we are looking at an undercount, Hallie.
Antonia Hilton, thank you for being there with that reporting. Appreciate it. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, he just booted his top security chief and prosecutor. Why? He says there's a bunch of cases of treason and collaborating with Russia among their staff. He said the number of cases is what he described as a very serious question to the relevant leadership. Number 2, a passenger plane crash landed at an airport in Somalia. Look at this. Amazingly, all 30 people on board got out okay. It's incredible. It looks like the plane actually flipped upside down after it landed. Do you see that? We don't know why it crashed. Number 3, Dr. Anthony Fauci, a little bit of will he or won't he or when will he retire? He says he probably will do so by the end of President Biden's current term. Dr. Fauci, as you know, President Biden's chief medical advisor. He's been in charge of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases for nearly 40 years, became the face of the pandemic response in many ways. He's 81 years old. Number 4, for the first time in its 76-year history, the U.S. Navy flight squad, the Blue Angels, is going to have a female pilot. About time. The Navy announced Lieutenant Amanda Lee is one of its newest corps members. She's expected to report to the Blue Angels in the fall. She's going to train with them through the winter. Number 5, for all of you lovers of Harry's house, how about a Harry's class? Oh yeah, a Texas State University professor is going to teach a course on Harry Styles and the cult of celebrity, it's called, next spring for that semester. The class is going to be focused on Harry Styles' art and the European culture that has influenced him. So if you are a Styles stan, you might want to enroll in Texas State University ASAP. When we come back, in one night, NBC News, in one night in America, NBC News went to 4 different cities to see how exactly gun violence affects communities. We're talking with Kate Snow about what she and our incredible team of reporters saw for our backstory. We're going behind the scenes on this huge project. Don't go anywhere. Not too long ago, in a courtroom in Florida, some intense moments as a jury saw cell phone video from a former Marjory Stoneman Douglas student who was filming during that 2018 school shooting where the gunman killed 17 people. Danielle Gilbert was just a junior at the time. She played this just disturbing video that she recorded during the massacre for the jury. And just a warning, it's really hard to hear. It's awful. We're only going to play that once because of the significance to this moment, to this trial, where you can see people hugging, people just so emotional in this room. You could hear in that audio alarms whispering as students were hiding for cover. Some of the parents actually put their hands over their ears while this played. You can understand why. It comes after a really emotional day where the lead prosecutor based his argument on a video the shooter made of himself before the attack.
This is what the defendant said. Hello, my name is Nick. I'm going to be the next school shooter of 2018.
The defense chose not to give their own argument today, and the jury here will decide whether the gunman gets the death penalty or life in prison. He's pleaded guilty to 17 murders in the shooting that took the lives of these people you see on your screen, the 17 people killed in that massacre. Danny Cevallos is joining me now. And Danny, you know, this is supposed to go on for months, this trial. And today was already just so emotionally intense, so difficult, with the prosecutor calling the defendant here cold and manipulative and deadly. I feel like this is a glimpse in their plan and in their strategy here, no?
Yes, that's right. And this is the standard maneuver by the prosecution in a capital punishment case. Remember that the defendant here already pleaded guilty. So in the mitigation phase in a capital case, it's really not that legal of an argument. It really is balancing mitigating factors that the defense will present and aggravating factors that the prosecution will present. Basically, the prosecution is going to present as much evidence to the jury to argue that this is not a life worth saving, and the defense will put anything they can within the rules of evidence before the jury to decide whether or not this is a life that should be spared. It is a very, very difficult process and will last many months, and it will be evidence a lot like this. The defense will try to make the defendant sympathetic, and the prosecution will essentially put on as much evidence as they can, and they've got plenty to argue that this defendant does not deserve your mercy.
Can you help us explain? We thought we get opening arguments from both sides today, but the defense lawyers decided not to. They'll probably do it after the prosecution has made their own case entirely. Help us understand what is the thinking behind that? Why would the defense make that move?
Normally, as the defense, you want to make an opening statement right after the prosecution because so much psychological studies are made on that the jury or the judge even values what they hear first about somebody. So if you miss that opportunity, arguably you miss your chance to make a good first impression. This defendant is not going to make a good first impression. If anything, it's in my mind, it's a strategic move by the defense to say, OK, after all of that horrific evidence by the prosecutor, we're going to reset. Here's our opening statement. Now you get to hear from us, and hopefully we can begin to make you forget that atrocious, it's just that horrific evidence you just spent many days, maybe even weeks listening to. That's my guess as to their strategy. It's something along those lines.
Danny Cevallos live for us there. Danny, thank you so much on that breakdown. Appreciate it. Time to get our backstory now. Our behind-the-scenes look at how a story comes together and how it fits into our bigger picture. We just reported on Parkland, right? And that was the third shooting that we reported on in this broadcast just today, just in the last 40 minutes, right? It's a lot, but it's still just a tiny amount of the shootings that happen in this country all the time, because every year more than 40,000 people are killed by guns. And each of these incidents, right, thousands of them, tearing families apart, communities apart every day. So what does one night in America look like in the middle of this gun violence epidemic? NBC News put teams all out across the country, led by Kate Snow, along with Gabe Gutierrez, Gotti Schwartz, Jesse Kirsch. You see them here in Chicago, in Baltimore, in Houston, and Philly, spending one night in these cities. Kate spent the night following a pastor who rushes to hospitals to be there to help, to support the families whose loved ones are killed in shootings. Gotti was in Houston with police on the scene of two shootings, again, just in one night, just with this one patrol car, basically. Jesse was on a ride-along with Philly's narcotics strike force. They started their night racing to the scene of a mass shooting. And Gabe was posted up inside a trauma center as medical teams tried to save somebody who'd been shot.
This is one night in one city in the richest country in the world. How can this make any sense?
Powerful to hear. Kate Snow, of course, anchors Sunday Nightly News. Kate, you led the coverage of our broadcast when this report aired last night. Thank you so much for being here. This was really powerful. You know, this entire, almost, half the newscast dedicated simply to this idea of showing just one night in America. How did you even get the idea to do this? Between the producers, you and the correspondents, where did this come from?
Yeah, honestly, Hallie, it came from our executive producer, who you know, Matt Frucci, on the weekend. Sure. But the real reason was every weekend we come in on Sundays and we look at what's happened overnight. And we hear about all of these shootings all over the country. We know about them. But as you said, we can't really report. We don't have the time to report all of them. And so we were trying to find a way to get our heads around and to show the audience what's happening every weekend, especially in the summer when violence goes up, the numbers go up. So that's how it started. We chose these cities randomly because we wanted, quite frankly, different places. We wanted places that were diverse in terms of their populations, in terms of their geography, but places where we knew we probably were likely to see some gun violence happen. So we ended up in those four that you mentioned.
And it was a huge lift from a production standpoint, Kate. And again, this whole segment, the backstory, it really is kind of pulling back the curtain on how this actually gets made. Because I think people, That's a really fast turnaround to do a huge project like this in literally one day. Like, we're looking at Gotti just there. That was actually on Saturday night, and you aired this the next night on Nightly. There's so much work that goes into that.
There is. I'll give you a taste of it. So you see the four of us. You just showed the four correspondents, but behind us are teams of field producers, crews, right? Audio, cameras, security people, pre-planning meetings that we had to set everything up and make sure it could go flawlessly in the field. Then everything has to feed to New York. All the tape has to come into New York. People had to come in at 5 in the morning to start getting those feeds and logging every bit of what we all shot for hours. I mean, I shot from 7 p.m. to 4:30 in the morning. Okay, so that's a lot of tape. And then other people started compiling it into a form that could be television and sort of structuring a piece. I slept a couple hours. I flew back to New York and landed and had like the outline of a script, and we just worked from there and got it together. And then we had 6 editors put this piece together, which was about 12 minutes long, I think, on tape, which we never do, Hallie. That's like very unheard of to do on the Nightly News.
A minute 30 is like 2 minutes maybe is a long piece on Nightly, just so people know and have that perspective.
We took over the entire, what we call the first block. So the first portion of the show before the first commercials was all dedicated to this project last night.
Let me talk about your piece of it, because you were with, we mentioned Pastor Donovan Price, who I was sort of struck to hear he's seen something like 1,000 homicides. Like he's done this 1,000 times, going and trying to comfort and be there for families since he got into being a pastor. How did you find him and your team, and how did you decide to feature him as far as like, the person that you would sort of be interacting with?
Funny story. You know how you saw Jesse Kirsch, who was in Philadelphia on Saturday night for us? He's our correspondent based in Cleveland. He used to live in Chicago, and he used to cover local crime, local news for years. And every weekend, he would see Pastor Donovan Price. So he told us about the pastor when we were thinking about going to Chicago. In fact, he was going to do the story, and then, you know, things changed and his schedule didn't work, and I could go to Chicago, so he ended up in Philadelphia. So yeah, that's how that happened. And just to say a couple things quickly about the pastor. Please. I mean, he's so devoted to this work. He for many years, he's been doing this about 6 years. And as you said, 1,000, how can you even process that? 1,000 homicides he's been to, sometimes 40 in one night, he told me. He doesn't get paid a lot. Now he has some grant money that he got last year, and that's helping a lot. But in the beginning, he wasn't paid. He was being evicted from apartments himself because he couldn't, you know, afford to live in Chicago. So this is a selfless person who goes not just to hospitals, but to actual scenes of violence, puts himself at risk to be there with these families and to help them with anything they need, Hallie. I mean, it could be everything from helping them deal with the police in the moment while they're like investigating the scene, and then helping them plan their funeral.
It is powerful beyond words, Kate. I'm so grateful. I think so many people are to you and to Fauci and to your team at Sunday Nightly News for bringing that to us and putting that on your national platform and shining a light on it. Thank you so much, Kate, for telling us what it was like to pull it together. Of course, appreciate you being with us. Coming up, you're on the show. Officials in West Virginia say a woman was beaten and left for dead 2 years ago. Now she is out of a coma. She is out of a coma, and she is naming her attacker. We're going to tell you about it after the break. Plus, what New York is doing to try to stop shark attacks. We'll be back. NBC News covers hundreds of stories every day, and because you couldn't possibly read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. From our Northeast Bureau, the New York governor is telling the state agencies there to step up shark patrols at beaches in New York. She wants them to give more overtime to lifeguards, more surveillance with drones and choppers and boats. There have been several shark attacks on Long Island in the last few weeks. None of them have been deadly. From our West Coast Bureau, one couple in Hawaii had a big wedding crasher. Look at this, a wave crashing literally over a wall, right before the ceremony started. Okay, everybody's running away. The tables have knocked over. Luckily, the couple told our affiliate there nobody got hurt. And hey, even the cake was okay. In other parts of the state, lifeguards had to do hundreds of rescues because the surf was so intense. The National Weather Service called the swell there historic. Also from our West Coast Bureau, a homeowner in California walked out of her living room to see this. Oh, that is a bear. That is a mama bear, and that is her cub. And they are eating donuts, just straight up having a little snacky. The woman who lives there says they got in through a window screen. She scared him away. She made a lot of loud noises. That is intense bravery. I would have just given him the donuts and ran. I would have moved houses. A crazy story now out of West Virginia that a lot of people are talking about today. Police thought they might never figure out who was behind this awful attack on a woman back in 2020. That is, until she woke up from a coma 2 years later to tell them it was her brother who did it. Police say Wanda Palmer was beaten and she was left for dead in her home in June 2020. Officers didn't think she'd survive, but she did. And when she woke up last week, she said she remembered exactly who did it to her. Now, her brother, Daniel, is under arrest, suspected of attempted murder. Stephen Romo is joining us now. And Stephen, this feels like something out of a total Hollywood movie, right? That after all this time, she'd come out of this with severe brain damage and still remember what happened. Talk about how this went down.
Yeah, it's just incredible. Starting off with that brutal attack, Hallie. Officers who showed up to her home said that they thought she was dead initially. She was on the couch of her living room, and they said her condition was just so awful. They assumed she was dead until they heard a death rattle type breathing coming from her. They, of course, took her in for treatment. Cut to 2 years later, just days ago, really, she starts to come out of this coma, and she's able to start giving answers. Just one-word answers at first. Now she can actually speak a lot more. And what she was able to tell these authorities was that it was, in fact, her brother who she says did this to her. It appeared at the time that it was some type of hatchet or axe, something that she has confirmed happened. Her brother, we see him right there, Daniel Palmer, just a few years older than her. They said he was actually one of the persons of interest they looked at back when this happened in 2020, but they said they just didn't have enough evidence, not enough witnesses. Of course, there was no surveillance video, nothing that they could actually use. So it wasn't until her witness account that they were able to actually make this arrest of him.
So what else do we know about her condition, and where does this go from here, this investigation?
Yeah, she is able to speak. The recovery so far has been miraculous, but the sheriff's office where this happened, they're saying she's just never going to be the same. They didn't really go into a lot of detail about the types of injuries that she's still suffering from. But we do know that her brother Daniel arrested, charged with attempted murder and malicious wounding. He's due back in court a week from today, $500,000 bond. We know that he's not really cooperating. The court clerk telling us that he refused to sign the documents necessary to get an attorney assigned to him. We haven't been able to reach him for any comment on this. We've also heard from officials of the sheriff's office that they had to send the magistrate to him, to the actual jail, to arraign him because he was so uncooperative they couldn't actually get him to do that. But we did know that there was, according to the sheriff's office, a history of violence in that family between those siblings. So just an awful update to this, but just miraculous, this level of recovery so far, and perhaps a step toward justice as Wanda Palmer was able to identify a suspect, in this case her brother, for this just heinous crime against her.
Stephen Romo, thank you for that update. Appreciate it. Still to come, Prince Harry warning about threats to democracy here in the U.S. and seeming to take a shot at the Supreme Court. What he said at the UN today and what we know about an explosive new book on royal rifts. We'll be back. So Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were over at the UN today, making their first public appearance since Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee. Harry was the keynote, honoring Nelson Mandela. And when talking about Mandela's legacy, his fight for freedom, Prince Harry called out what he sees as some of the things threatening freedom now. Listen to what he said.
And from the horrific war in Ukraine to the rolling back of constitutional rights here in the United States, we are witnessing a global assault on democracy and freedom, the cause of Mandela's life.
Harry and Meghan visited Mandela's family in South Africa in 2019 on their first official tour as a family. This was back before they gave up their royal duties. And the New York trip today is not the only reason that they're in the headlines right now either. There's this bombshell book, supposedly, set to come out later this week called Revenge. That is so dramatic. And its subtitle is The War Between the Windsors, Meghan, Harry, and the War. In an exclusive excerpt published in the Sunday Times, the author, Tom Bauer, writes about how Harry and Meghan were festering with fury that the palace had refused all of their demands for a prominent role at that Queen's Jubilee. NBC News Now anchor Joe Fryer is joining us to break it all down. The drama and the intrigue, Joe. Let me set aside that from the book for a second. And let me talk about this speech from Prince Harry today, because it was some not so subtle shade at the Supreme Court. And it was a sort of interesting example of a royal, right, Prince Harry, coming over and giving some opinions on, like, the U.S. democratic process.
Yeah, which is not very typical for someone who's a royal, but Prince Harry has sipped away from those royal duties and maybe feels a little more like he can do now. Keep in mind, he didn't say the word abortion. He didn't say Roe versus Wade. He talked about constitutional rights, which made it pretty clear what he was talking about there. Meghan Markle spoke about this a few weeks ago with reproductive rights, so it's no secret what they were talking about, but you still find a way to sort of toe that line without saying it directly, but trying to put that message out there, Hallie.
Which makes sense. Okay, get to the juicy drama of revenge, Joe, this new book, right? Buckingham Palace, like, it's so interesting the way that they handle some things, right? Sometimes there's either, like, leaks that seem very intentionally leaked. Sometimes there's just no comment at all. What's the deal for this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is getting a lot of buzz right now. You mentioned one of the excerpts from it that's getting a lot of attention. The book will be out in a few days. It's based on insider interviews. Another excerpt that was put out recently by the author Tom Bauer talks about when Prince Harry, you might remember earlier this year, he returned home for Prince Philip's funeral, which a lot of people were paying close attention to. The author Tom Bauer writes that at that funeral said it remained a problem that Prince Harry was there. He says that Harry and William were actually separated during that time, and says that the Queen allegedly was relieved that Meghan wasn't there. So that's one of the little morsels that was put out there for this book. The palace says it is not commenting on this book. We have reached out to the Sussexes about it. They have not gotten back to us. But if you look at Harry and Meghan supporters online, they look at this all. They're very critical. They think it's gossip. They think it's innuendo. They're not buying it as much as some people might be buying it.
What do we know about this author? Is this guy like pro-Sussex, pro-Palace, somewhere in the middle? Do we know?
I think some of the theories are that he's on maybe more of the pro-palace side, which is why some of the people who support Harry and Meghan are far more critical of it and basically say we're not paying attention to this one.
Harry's got his own book coming out, no? That may be delayed now? What's the deal there?
Yeah, we don't really know at this point. I mean, it's sort of this thing that was put out there last year. Harry's going to write a memoir. And at this point, the big question is it happening? When is it going to be released? If it is it going to be this year? Is it going to be early next year? And above all, what is he actually going to say? One of the big questions is, will it be filled with bombshells, with accusations like we saw in that Oprah interview, which caught so many people off guard?
Yes.
Right, exactly. But we don't know at this point. You know, Daisy McAndrew, one of our royals experts, says certainly some people within the royal family are on edge, waiting to see what comes out of it. Harry, he said himself last year that it's simply just going to be his story. He's going to talk about his highs, his lows, the mistakes he's made, and the lessons he has learned. We'll find out when the book actually comes out.
Joe Fryer, thank you for joining us for what I am certain is your nightcap as you head straight to bed to get ready for Morning News Now tomorrow. First thing. See you, Joe. Thanks, friend. Appreciate it. That's a wrap for this hour. Glad to have you with us. As always, happy Monday, and we're going to have more for you here tomorrow. Same time, same place. Coverage picks up right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.